even though this was my decision, it's not something necessarily that I wanted to do, because this is not my comfort zone. Y'all can sit. Y'all can sit. This is really not my comfort. Even though I'm very well spoken, I would not go out my way to talk to you guys. But something told me that I had to do it. I don't know what it was, but like after New Year's and we got the year of overflow, instantly in my mind, I got overflow of accomplishments. And I wanted today to be one of my accomplishments in this year. So in my process to see what I will be talking about today, I was doing one of my favorite things, which is to binge watch shows I've already seen, because you already know what's coming next. It's very comfortable, So I was watching All-American. I don't know if anybody already seen it. It's on Netflix, All-American, I came across this episode, and the characters were struggling between the switch of high school to college. They were a big friend group. They hung out all the time. They went to the same school. But now they're going to college, and they all have different career paths, and they didn't really know what the future held for their friendship. One of the characters said, once they came together, was, change is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. It's our instinct to rush and fix things. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable. And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, she did her little 1-2. That was good. So I wrote it down. And I thought about my own self. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable. Doing this today is me sitting in my uncomfortable. So I always wanted to say this. John, can you put my verse up, please? So when I picked my verse, it was the NIV version. This might be differently, but same word, Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. That's it. So here in our scripture, this is James chapter 1, verse 2 through 4. And here James is talking to the tribes among the nation who are going through a lot of hardship. But today, when I say the uncomfortable, I don't mean major pain and hardship. When I say uncomfortable, I mean the things that we face every day. The uncomfortable is things that you wouldn't necessarily do, but you have to. The uncomfortable is when you're at work and you have to work with people who don't necessarily have the same beliefs as you. The uncomfortable is when you have a set plan for yourself, but it doesn't go the way that you want it to. That's the uncomfortable. Here, he encourages them to embrace challenges as what God's overall process. Now, my points aren't creative. They're literally what it says. I don't have the same letter every point. I couldn't do it, okay? I couldn't do it. So my first point is learn to sit in the uncomfortable simply because it's God's process. As the character in All-American said, it's our instinct to rush and fix things. When there's a problem, quickly want to get to the solution. But when you are in the uncomfortable, maybe ask yourself, what is the Lord trying to teach you in this said moment? Instead of trying to rush out of it and like, okay, I don't like this, let's get out of it with the quickness, sit in the uncomfortable and see what you're going to learn in this said moment. When I was talking to Minister Will about how I wanted to do youth takeover today, I mentioned that something I like about him and PK is that when they get up here, they don't just give the word, they get personal, They be vulnerable, they share things that you wouldn't really want people to know about yourself. That is uncomfortable for me. I don't like sharing things that I don't think people are going to take the right way. I have a certain image for myself. I don't like to overshare. So let's talk about Asia today. Asia only likes doing things when she knows she's good at it. Sad but true. Asia likes doing things when she already knows the outcome. If Asia doesn't know what that outcome is, she's not gonna do it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not. Literally, before I got here today, I didn't know what y'all were gonna think of my message, and I told my mom, I said, okay, what if I call in sick? What they gonna do? You know? What they gonna do? I mean, it's last minute, what y'all gonna do? But learn to sit in the uncomfortable, because that is what God has planned for you. The journey you have for yourself will never be better or greater than God's journey for you. Now, with that being said, that don't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean that these little obstacles that come your way are gonna be little small obstacles. No, they're gonna hit hard, because even though they might be small to other people, they can be big to you. So learn to sit in the uncomfortable, because it's God's process. Do you sit in the uncomfortable, or do you run? I run. Ask yourself, literally, do you sit or do you run? I run. Let's take another example. So we already said we're quick to get to the end goal. We quick to get out of it when things get hard. But let's talk about that vision that you have for yourself. My family is a planner. We plan everything. We're going to get everything done at this time, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen. I have expectations for myself. If I say Asia's going to do this at this time, and this is going to happen, that's what I want it to happen. But then, when it happens, it doesn't quite happen that way. This is youth takeover, so let's talk about youth, okay? You know when we like somebody, we all like, okay, when I talk to him, he gonna say this, and I'm gonna say that, and then I'm gonna say this again. But when it happens, he don't say nothing at all. Actually, turns out he got a girlfriend. Oh. But it's okay, because in our head, in our vision for ourselves, we're like, no, that's gonna be our man. So we don't care. We don't care. But when you had these decisions for yourself and you visioned it, did you add God to that process? Because it's not your process, it's God's process. It's your journey with Christ. So how do you think it's going to work for you if you didn't add the all-wise God? I mean, we worship an all-wise God, don't we? Or do we worship an all-wise PK? Or all-wise... Or do we worship all-wise Asia? Or all-wise insert your own name? We do not. We worship an all-wise God. So embrace that discomfort, but also let God know that you trust him in that journey. When things don't go your way, be like, okay, Lord, that's not what I had planned, but I trust you, and I want you in here with this process. Once you decide that this is my journey, and I'm adding God in my journey because I am not alone in this, that's when stuff start to get easy. That's when that uncomfortable that you sit in, you're no longer just sitting alone. You're sitting with God, because he's always there. He's only waiting for you to acknowledge him that he's there. Now, we're moving on quick, you know? So, once you acknowledge that you're sitting in the uncomfortable and you trust God, know that your discomfort is going to produce perseverance, which is my next point. You know, told you, wasn't creative with the points. I really wasn't. Sorry. Okay. We are in a school, so class, what does perseverance mean? Okay. I'm hearing something, I don't know. Okay, so in my house, we use the Webster's dictionary. You know, my mom, that's the one she prefers. So it says perseverance is the continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. The continued effort despite failure, difficulties, and opposition. Now, like I said before, I can only speak for myself. When things get hard, I instantly jump to failure. Failure is probably one of my favorite words to use. Even though it's not really a nice word, instantly my mind goes, failure. Asia, you didn't do that right. Failure. Asia, that's not what I expected of you. Failure. That's my own mind talking. We always say our worst enemy is ourselves. Know that your discomfort produces perseverance. When you're uncomfortable, we always say that the Lord is testing our faith. Let your faith be tested. He wants to see. When that obstacle hits you, are you going to A, tap out like, I don't like that. I'm not doing that no more. Or B, are you going to lean on God and ask him what's next? Personally, I'm going to tap out. I'm going to walk out of it because I like when I know what's coming next. I like knowing that I'm good at something. So when I'm not good at something, failure. Asia, that's not what I wanted of you. Failure. Perseverance is the continued effort when things get hard. Who do you lean on when things get hard? Who do you lean on? Do you even lean at all? Let's be honest. Do you even lean at all? When I was coming up with my message today and I got to point to discomfort produces perseverance, I had a hard time trying to think of what to say. And that's because this is my sign of weakness. And it's not something easily to show that this is a weak point. It's not easy to say this is a weak point. I told y'all I didn't want to come up here, but I felt like I had to. When I got to point two, I'm like, Lord, you throwing a shot at me? What you trying to say? You trying to put me out here and show my weakness? I don't do weakness. Asia's strong. Asia's hardworking. Asia gets through everything. Asia is a goal setter. Asia has no weaknesses. Asia has many. We as Christians have many. But the only way for us to grow in our uncomfortable and have change in our uncomfortable, we have to notice our weaknesses. And that is what I'm doing today as I go through my spiritual growth. Allow your faith to be tested. Okay, the uncomfortable happens. I'm tapping out like I said I do. But once the Lord sees that you acknowledge and you're like, okay, I trust him. We're in this together. And I go, okay. Instead of stepping out of the equation, I go, okay, Lord, what's next? What are we going to do? That's what he wants to hear. Okay, you trust him, but when things get hard, you're not showing that trust. It's easy to say, when things get good, it's easy to say, that was all the Lord's work. I'm just blessed, da, da, da. When things get hard, we're quick to tap out and back out of him. Your discomfort produces perseverance. You push through. You ask God, okay, I pushed through this one obstacle. What's next? If you paid attention last week, PK said when things hit you way again and again, you're like, and now this, and now this, and now this. That's when you use your perseverance. You push through. But, yes, it's uncomfortable. Your discomfort is not wasted. Your discomfort is not wasted. It's hard in the moment, but just know once you get through it, it will help you for the next time. That obstacle the next time won't be as hard as the first one, because you already know that the first time I was going through something, the Lord was right here. So when you get to that next one, the Lord helped me last time, he's going to help me this time. And that's what he wants to know. That's what he wants to hear. When you're in your uncomfortable and you're like, okay, I'm not alone. I have God's process. It's his journey. This is our journey. And then when it gets to the discomfort and you persevere and you learn that your discomfort is not wasted, what you endured through those hard times leads to maturity. And like I said, we're moving pretty fast. That is my third point. My third and actually last point is that your endurance leads to maturity. When people meet me, one of the first things they say when they describe me is, Asia's very mature. Asia's very well-spoken for her age. And that's good and all. But are we spiritually mature? Or are we just mature in that everyday life? We want to be spiritually mature. What is being spiritually mature? Is knowing to call on him when you're in that uncomfortable. Being spiritually mature is, like we said throughout these points, is knowing I trust him, I'm getting through this. What's the next step? We're here together, we're a team. That's what's being spiritually mature. That's something I still have to work on. Because when things get hard, I believe it's Asia and Asia alone. When things get hard, and my mom's asking me, Asia, you're smart. Asia, you've been through harder things. You can get through it. And I shut her out because when things get hard and Asia's uncomfortable, it's Asia and Asia alone. We have to learn that it's not you and you alone. It's you and God. Is you and your relationship with God. Not you and your friends' relationship with God. Not you and the church's relationship with God. It's you and yourself and your relationship with God. We're not here at church to make sure we all, got a relationship with God. Do you have your own relationship with God? We're not here to see if PK got his relationship with God. We're here to see if you have your own relationship with God. Your endurance leads to maturity. When you were in your uncomfortable, that was God shaping you, preparing you. If you cannot deal with the uncomfortable, what is he to think that you can deal with? He starts blessing you, giving you a new house, giving you money, giving you a new job. What is he supposed to think when you can't take the little rock he sends your way? Your endurance leads to maturity. It's all in your mindset. It's all in the way you walk. It's in the way that you share your relationship with God, share the word to other people. Endurance leads to maturity. Actually, can we say that together? Together, my bad. Endurance leads to maturity. Y'all a great class, actually. Oh, yeah. That sounds good. Your endurance leads to maturity. Let it shape you. Have you noticed that people's walk with God is better when you know they've been through something? The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you take everyday life is differently once you've been through something, once you got out of something, once you went and did something that you don't normally do. I mean, even trying to figure out the message for today, I was feeling different. I don't know about you guys. Like, once I started turning for myself and reading for myself, I felt different. The way I saw shows, the way words from other people, it sounded differently in my head, the way that I've changed my mindset and I'm trying to be more spiritually mature. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable. Today, I did that. I'm in my uncomfortable. Ask yourself, what is your uncomfortable? Ask yourself throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, because this is going to be a hard one. Learn to sit in your uncomfortable and ask yourself, what is your uncomfortable and what do you do while you're in it? Yes, today's message was quick, but please do not let it fly over your head simply because it's coming from a 17-year-old and not the pastor that y'all see every Sunday. Please don't let it go over your head simply because it was quick and it's maybe not really the language you were come here to hear. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable simply because it's God's process and it's y'all's journey together. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable because your discomfort is going to produce perseverance. And once you persevere and you took everything in, learn to sit in the uncomfortable because your endurance is going to lead to maturity. So, when I say this, PK is probably the only one who's going to understand this, but this is not something I wanted to do, but I did it though. Thank you.
Wow. Come on, y'all. Can y'all help me to celebrate this amazing young lady, y'all? Oh, my God. Learn to sit in your uncomfortable. What you all don't know is Asia and I, we attend the same school. And every morning, I stand outside my classroom door. And I'll see Asia all the way down the end of the hall. Hallway is packed. And I holler out, Asia! She is so uncomfortable. I know she don't like that. But I do that with intentionality. Because there is something unique and different about her. And it wasn't until I was sitting there that the Holy Spirit brought back to my remembrance why I do that. It's a call, y'all. I had no idea calling her name was God's way of calling her out of her place of comfort. And God is teaching her through a process as He's teaching all of us. The same as God is calling her, He's calling you. Listen to this. Learn to sit in your uncomfortableness. God says if you can't stand in moments where God has ordained for you to stand in, He will ask you to sit. If Asia had not responded to the spot where God had called her to stand in, He would have asked her to sit. Because there is something that God desires to do in the earth realm that it's going to take you to do it. And He's telling us, learn to sit in your uncomfortableness. Because it's a process. And she modeled before us today with excellence. Y'all, I'm telling you, God is doing something, and we might not understand what it is that He's doing, y'all, but He operates in glimpses. We had an 8-year-old to stand here and give the welcome. What I saw confidence. Because I remember when I was 8 years old, I couldn't even get my lines right. Then we saw a group of young kids up here singing with confidence. God letting us know the work that we're putting in, y'all, it's starting to take root. It's starting to be visible to the eye. The work and the labor that we're putting in, Dr. Ward, our labor will not be in vain because he's doing something. Our job is to continue to plow, continue to plug, continue to plant, continue to plead, continue to petition God on their behalf, and learn to sit in our uncomfortableness. Had the opportunity yesterday to take my son to Newport News Beach. Been trying to get there the entire week. And I finally got there because I wanted to see the sunset. With all the chaos that is going on, something in me was saying you needed to see sunsets. You need to see with all of the storms and all of the tribulations and all of the trials, go and see something beautiful. And I caught this revelation of just going and sitting on the beach. And when I went to the beach, Lee, I was standing out there and there was a whole bunch of people out there. And my son was out there just running up and down the water. And there was a couple that came and sat maybe about 5 yards behind me. And the couple that sat behind me, they was not of my ethnicity. And one of them had tattoos on. And I said, God, what you asking me to do? I can't do that. I don't know them. I don't know how they gonna respond to me. And I stood there, biting my nails, looking back. God was calling me out of my uncomfortableness. And they stood up as if they was getting ready to go. And when I looked around, I saw a young man who was uniquely different. He was one of our uniquely special kids from our communities. And God says, if you don't go for the two, can you just go for him? So I pulled up my cell phone and I started working on my entryway. And I said, I don't want to just go and present myself as a stranger. I said, well, let me show them the video of the special need prom. And I walked over to them and they were standing up. And I said, excuse me. I said, they said, well, we're not here from the area. We just moved here. And I said, well, look, I said, what interests me is that I said, y'all are at a spot where God is showing beautiful sunset. I said, look, I saw my man here. I said, look, I wanted to show you this video. And I showed him the special need video. The mother gasped in tears, hit her husband and told her, look at this. And then they said that we were looking for a church. And I looked at his tattoos, and I didn't want to be selfish and say, come into our church. I said, there's a fire chief that's right there in Carrollton. He's a pastor, and he's full of tattoos. I said, why don't you go over and join him? I said, well, after you join him, can you just come and visit with us? He says, no, what we gonna do is, we gonna come and visit with you. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, take everything out of your wallet and give it to him. I went in my wallet, and I had about 25 ones. And it was easy to give that. And he said, don't forget you got a $100 bill hiding behind your driver's license. So he says, I want you to come out of your place of comfort. And I want you to sit in the seat of uncomfortableness. He says, I want you to give them everything you got because I want them to know that they have stepped into a season when I'm giving them my best. And she said, since we moved from Petersburg, and since he moved from Florida, she said, doors have just been opening up. My son couldn't get into school, but since we came here, she says, doors have been opening up. He starts school next week. I came to find out that I'm a barber instructor. He says, I'm 40 hours from getting my barber license. And not only that, our children are homeschooled. I started seeing the connection of what God is doing. He said, son, don't you ever doubt me. He said, I brought you here because your situation in front of you is a mess. But if you look behind you, I'll show you a beautiful sunset. They don't know how it's going to end in the end, but in the end, it's going to be beautiful. Look at your neighbor and tell him, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. It's gonna be worth it. The pain of the climb is not compared to be worthy of the reward on the mountain. In other words, what you're going through right now, it does not compare to what it is that I will do in your life. Learn to sit in the uncomfortable. The lesson is learn to sit there. It's no different than a person going to a barbershop. He goes there with his self-esteem bruised. Learn to sit in the seat of uncomfortableness. And as you're sitting there, God will drape you and start covering you just like the barber would. And then God will start working on you. Start working on your head to get your mind right. And then he'll have the barber to start saying some stuff that while he's fixing the outside up, the Holy Spirit is going into your brain and it's illuminating revelation and insight that the light comes on, that I never thought of that. And the more time he spends with you, he turns you around so you can see yourself in the mirror. And what every barber, every person who's getting a haircut, what they do, they fluff the cape as if to say, yeah, brother, getting better now. And then by the time this thing is over, he turns you around and gives you a mirror, and you don't look like you did when you came here. You look better. You feel better. And then he takes oil sheen, hair tonic, and put it in his hand, and rubs it on his hand and coats it over your head so that the antiseptic heals you. But then it leaves a fragrance on you that when you leave the barber shop, nobody has to ask you, did you go? They can smell it in the air. They can smell the aroma. When you leave here, people should look at you and say, you've been to church today. Because there's an aroma that is on you. You thinking that it's a church. No, baby, this is a barber shop. This is a place where God trying to groom you, where God trying to correct you, where God trying to console you, where God trying to get your mind right. God trying to just get your line right. He's trying to get your life right. He's trying to do something with you so he can send you back. So people can say, man, I like what you did to his hair. Lady, I like what you did to her hair. Can I make an appointment with you just to sit in your chair? I don't know a whole lot about you, but I went to church and the preacher, the young lady said, I need to learn to sit in the seat of uncomfortableness. I don't even know you. You are a stranger. He says, I'm doing something.